going to tell you why the Chicago Bears will surprise the national media this season, and it starts right now. Now, if you are new to the channel, please like the video. Please subscribe to the page because we do talk Chicago sports daily on this channel. It's the only channel talking Chicago sports, how Chicago talks. So make sure that you get in tune with us, man. Now, the Chicago Bears have been a real topic of discussion today anyway because of, you know, what people are trying to figure out they should expect coming into the season with this team. Weren't a lot of big names brought in, weren't a lot of big offseason moves made by the Chicago Bears. And Ryan Poles' first year drafting for the Chicago Bears, he went defense instead of offense. And I feel like that left a real sour taste in a lot of people's mouths that thought that they were going to go offense, to the point where the power rankings have come out post-draft, right? And almost everyone has the Bears at the bottom. I think Sports Illustrated has us the highest ranked at 23. But I know Bleacher Report has us 31st. USA Today has us 31st. I think NFL.com has us 30th. And I'm going to tell you why the Bears are going to be a surprise to a lot of people this season. Not to say that they're going to win 12 games, right? Like, let's not get crazy here. But what I do want to point to is where the Bears are coming from and where they're going, right? A lot of people are looking at this and saying this is the exact same roster that they had last season with a few minimal additions. And now these guys are going to go out there and play the exact same way. Changing a head coach doesn't change that. That, to me, is where you're wrong, right? How many times last season did we see the Bears go away from the run, where we clearly saw that the run was the thing that was going to get the Bears moving in the right direction? But Matt Nagy had to force the ball down the field. We had to be passing and running situations. The Bears' run on the offensive line, if you look at it, actually was good. They graded out as a good run-blocking offensive line, but the problem is that when you don't go to it enough, and when you don't lose it, and then you lose David Montgomery the few times you do lose it. Oh, by the way, Khalil Herbert's stepping up and guys like that. But when you look at that, you see that this offensive line looks horrible when they're passing. And so now everything is based on what we saw last season. This offense scored 16 touchdowns last season. They scored less touchdowns than there are weeks in the season. And to me, you have to look at, okay, what brought that on? Is it the fact that the players on this team were god awful? Is it the fact that the offensive line couldn't stand in front of Justin Fields? Is it the fact that Justin Fields wasn't ready? All those things are true, but you also then have to throw on top of that, hey, there were 3 different quarterbacks in this system. Hey, we are essentially running 3 different systems. Hey, we're asking our offensive line to learn a different system for each quarterback that's back there. Hey, we're also asking our offensive line to try and move around a little bit more with Andy Dalton, but not with Justin Fields. So kind of just stay stationary there. Huh? What's going on with that? Hey, when Andy Dalton's in there, we're actually seeing a little bit of continuity, but now that he's gotten hurt, we're going to put Justin in and we're not going to go back to Andy. But then when we kind of see a little bit of struggle from Justin and he ends up with a injury, now we're going to go back to Andy. And like, there was so much turmoil last season. You can't, to me, not expect the Chicago Bears to move in the right direction based on the fact that there will be continuity in the building. Justin Fields is your starting quarterback, and there is no question on that. There's nobody that's going to change, no system that's going to change. The quarterback that does come in, if he's a backup, will be running the exact same system as Justin Fields. And so guess what? And that's going to be Trevor Siemian, by the way. So guess what? The offensive line doesn't have to revamp their entire brain based on what's going to be done. And we know that they're going to play to the Bears' strengths offensively. Right now, unfortunately, that is not the quarterback position. It is not the wide receiver position. You hope that that changes during the season, but you have to keep it a Billy Buck Bean when we're talking about that. The run game is where the Bears are going to focus this season. David Montgomery's going to get a ton of run. Khalil Herbert's going to be involved in there. And of course, we're going to see Blazing Gang get involved at the fullback position. You don't go get a fullback if you don't expect to run the ball heavily. The Bears are going to play to the strengths of this offense. I'm not saying that that's going to breed you 29, 30 points a game, but what I am saying is it's going to move the Bears offense in the right direction. I think that's going to be a big surprise to a lot of people. And plus, when you add in Justin Fields being able to throw to Darnell Mooney and not just being, hey, we know the pass is coming. Why? Because that's what Matt Nagy does. He's going to throw the ball a million times. When there's a little bit of deception in there, when you're going to see a little bit of run and pass, and you're going to see more of that short pass, that extended passing game that's actually going to work because you have pieces in place that can actually execute it, like Velus Jones coming in, I think you're going to see this offense, not to say be dominant, but 24 points a game is an improvement from the 17 points a game that we were averaging the season before, and only getting 17 touchdowns out of that anyway. Most of those were, I'm sorry, 16 touchdowns out of that anyway. Most of those points were field goals. So not even getting into the end zone. I think that you'll see a difference on the offensive side of the ball for the Chicago Bears. And I think that that's going to surprise a lot of people in the national media. And all of a sudden you'll see those power rankings start to change a little bit. Now, before I continue with the video, I want to know how you guys feel, man. Let me know how you feel in the comments below. Do you think that the Chicago Bears will surprise the national media this season? I'll be down there talking with you as well. The other thing that I think will change is that we know at a minimum, right, we have to see these young guys on the field, but you feel like on the defensive end with Roquan Smith, Jalen Johnson, and adding in these pieces in Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker, that this defense is going to take a step in the right direction. And the defense, while not great last year, wasn't 30th in the NFL, right? So I think that makes a big difference to me as well. And so when I'm looking at, hey, the Bears are going to take a step forward defensively, which I think they will, the fact that you can actually throw at Jalen Johnson because Kyler Gordon's not going to be a complete incompetent player on the other side, at least we hope at this point, right? But I feel pretty good about Kyler Gordon coming into this season. I think that's going to do a lot for your defense. I think the fact that you've even gotten guys in here on the defensive end that just kind of fit a role, right? Justin Jones, run stopper. You've still got Robert Quinn coming through with big sack numbers. I think we're going to be real interested to see in what Dominique Robinson is going to bring to the field. I think he's going to be an interesting piece. I don't know if he's going to make an instant impact, but I feel like his quickness and his ability to get off of the ball is going to be something that's going to help the Bears this season. And of course, you know, the Bears want to hang their hat on that defensive line, on getting pressure on the quarterback. And I think that having a defensive-minded coach who already comes in understanding where this team needs to improve because he's seen that talent on the field already, right? I think that's going to improve the defensive side of the ball at a minimum, and you're going to get a lot of good things in here, especially with Alan Williams as the DC. And so if your defense is taking a step forward, right, you're talking about now your offense is scoring more. Your defense is also taking, to me, what I believe is going to be a step based on the fact that I feel like there's real talent on that side of the ball that's actually going to be able to play. I'm not even saying that it's great talent, just players that are NFL level players on that side of the ball that are going to be out there on the field. I feel like that's going to put the defense in a good step forward. And you also have to take into account, we're not playing the best quarterbacks in the NFL this season. When you're looking at the schedule this year, now granted, this is schedule week. We will be doing a little breakdown of who we think the Bears are going to be playing week 1. So make sure you guys stay in tune on that as well. But when you're looking at the teams that we play, who's this great wide receiver tandem that we're going up against? Who's this great quarterback that we're facing week in and week out? Who's this dominant offensive line that we're struggling against week in and week out, right? I'm not saying that the Bears are coming out winning 12 games this season. Again, I think I predicted them to get 6 or 7, but I think that the fact that you're going to see to me, Justin Fields take a step forward, this Bears offense take a step forward, and the defense take a step forward. I mean, we're talking about the Lions. Okay, maybe they got some nice offensive weapons, but they still got Jared Goff at quarterback. Is he going to be able to get the ball to him? The Packers, they've got Aaron Rodgers. That's a tough one. Probably not going to get one of those games this season. The Vikings, Kirk Cousins has a tendency to choke against us. Let's see if that continues, but we'll see. The Eagles, do we feel like we're playing dominant competition there? The Commanders, dominant competition there, right? The Bills, okay, the Bills, hey, look, that's probably an L. We penciled that in as an L. If we get a dub there, we're all surprised, right? Dolphins, Tua, that's what we're talking about, Tua. Texans, Davis Mills, and who? And what offensive line? They did nothing to improve that. Niners, probably an L, right? On the flip side, Cowboys, okay, maybe. We'll see. Giants, they're figuring out as well. But I don't feel like there's dominant offensive weapons over there. Patriots, probably an L. Jets, interesting game. I feel like they're kind of in a similar position as us. Falcons, it's literally like rookie quarterback or Marcus Mariota. I'm willing to take my chances there. So I don't look at this schedule that the Bears are potentially going to be facing up. Now, of course, it matters where people slate, where teams fall and stuff like that. But I don't look at this schedule and say, oh my God, the Chicago Bears aren't going to be able to move the ball, or oh my God, the Chicago Bears aren't going to be able to stop this dominant quarterback on the other side. There's a couple of games on the schedule where I feel like we might get cooked on that side of the football. But outside of those games, right, like we're talking about maybe 5, 6 games. The rest of it is a toss-up, right? At that point, it's based on how you play. And so I feel like the Chicago Bears are going to come out and they're going to surprise a lot of the people in the national media based on the fact that there's going to be a step forward because Matt Nagy was historically bad. I will say this until the ends of the earth come here. He was one of the worst head coaches in NFL history as an offensive guru. He won Coach of the Year. Great. Clap it up. Made the playoffs. All that stuff. As an offensive guru, he couldn't score more points than some of the Bears teams in the 60s. And so there's going to be no choice but to take a step forward. If we take a step back, we literally need to fire everyone in the building year one of this mug. It's almost impossible to take a step back. And so I think the Bears are going to surprise a lot of people this season. I feel like the Bears are going to come out and take not huge steps forward, but definitely steps forward, and that's going to put you in a position where people are going to look at this team, especially with a third place schedule, and say, oh, maybe they're not as bad as we thought. Now, you do still have to take into account third place schedule, a lot of bad teams on this schedule, a lot of teams in similar situations as you. This is the way that things went when Matt Nagy first got here. I'm not going to leave this season overly hyped, like, oh my God, we're back, Bear Don, another Super Bowl coming this way. Like, I'm not feeling that way coming out of this season, but what I am saying is that I feel like the national media views the Bears as the worst team in the NFL, the bottom of the barrel, the dregs, and I just don't see it that way. And maybe it's a little homer bias. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but I see all these national guys coming at the Bears, and I'm like, dog, like, are we seriously not looking at anything else around the NFL? Like, the Bears are the worst team coming out here. I'm gonna be real with you. I might be on the side of Sports Illustrated a little more out of anybody that did a power ranking on that. 23 to 20 is probably the range that I have the Bears. Was that Sports Illustrated that did that one? Yeah, Sports Illustrated had the Bears 23rd in the NFL. 23rd is an improvement. I could see the Bears being probably 23 to 20 in this league. Not to say they're the best team in the NFL, but when you look at some of the teams on this list, a lot of these teams are below that 23 to 20 marking. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Bears do. I can't wait for football season, bro. We're literally talking Bears months before the football season even starts. But I also want to know how you guys feel, man. Let me know in the comments below. I'll be down there talking with you as well. Do you think the Chicago Bears are going to surprise a lot of people this season with how they play? Let me know in the comments below. I'll be down there talking with you as well. As always, man, it's your boy, Pat the Designer, back at it again to continue watching our Chicago Bears content. Click the links on the screen or check the links in the description below. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Peace.